Well, hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. I'm Corny Swiss, and today's a kind of a special video. Probably today and tomorrow, because the event going on right now, the simulator battles where they've stripped out the HUD more, are in progress. And I have to say, first impressions, which is what this video is going to be mainly about, is I'm going to talk about this new game mode that honestly I'm pretty excited for. And this is why. So the first thing you notice is when you look at the mini-map, I don't know where allied tanks are on the mini-map. I can spot them, but like I can see them if I look at them, but the mini-map won't show them, and it won't show enemies either. So they took out the idea of your crew spotting enemy tanks, and now it's basically just you, the commander, spotting the enemy tanks, which is an interesting change. Another thing they did, they removed the display in the upper left hand corner. Now you don't have a speed indication, things like that. Not a big change for me. I don't look at that very often when I'm driving a tank, so it's all relative. Are you faster than them type thing. I don't think that's a big deal. But the minimap thing is actually a huge game changer. Because the biggest thing in Simulator, when you play Simulator, I find myself looking to my minimap a lot to help me identify targets. It gives me a ballpark to look in. It tells me, like, let's say I'm in a baseball field. It tells me that they're in left field. So I go and look at left field, and I'm able to find them in left, over there. Without that, it just tells me, it honestly doesn't tell me very much, the minimap. It doesn't tell me terrain. It tells me where the cap circle is and their spawn, which is useful. But it really serves more so as a communication tool. In this game in particular, you're going to see people saying, oh, Panther in D7, I think is the call. And I thought that might have been an enemy bomber, but it's an IL-4. You have to physically identify targets yourself. You have to look at them and say, is that an enemy? Which has its pros and cons. And the reason I chose this clip is that I think most pros, most cons are all represented fairly evenly. For example, an AI, allied AI just got shot down by an allied player. Now, it was an AI Dornier, which, flying for the Russians. So I can understand why he shot it down, and honestly I would prefer that he shot it down, because I'd rather him risk shooting down an AI than not shoot down a potentially heavy threat, a heavy bomber that's going to bomb the shit out of us. So things like that. And there's just countless times where I've been driving along and an enemy drives right past me. Now, is that realistic? I think it's more so. I think it's more realistic than the idea of the minimap. I do like the minimap, but I think this game mode has a lot of potential for maybe the more of the, not hardcore, but the people who want to take more abstraction out of the game, want to make it more focused on your individual ability to sight targets, to shoot at them, and how to play terrain, and all kinds of things like that. For example, in this mode, it's more important to stay in bushes and tree lines because it's harder to spot. This Panther happens to be running across an open field, which is mainly the reason why I spotted him. Also because a teammate had told me there was an enemy around D7 or so. So I kind of assumed, okay, I went to D7 and I started looking, and I found this guy running along. So I'm just opening up on him, and I'm not sure he knows where I am. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know where I am. Just set him on fire, got him stopped. He uses a fire extinguisher. My next shell hit his cupola. Also, something on a little bit of a side note, I think they did something with optimization with the with just the maps, I think, because I used to not get when I was recording, I used to not get 60 frames per second, like solid, with the occasional dip below for like very intense situations. But in this game, I stayed above 60 for some time, according to my FPS counter. Now, in another game I played, I dropped below 60, but I think that was because my hard drive was getting a little full, and when it gets full, it tends to slow down my FPS and start giving me really bad hitching, but not like the hitching I normally experience, but a little bit different. So like this Panther is, I think he must know where I am now, right? But he's not turned to deal with me, and oh, lo and behold, there's another Panther, and I took a hit from something. Alright, so I put a shell into the Panther. He keeps going. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know where I am. My next shell goes in and knocks him out. And I'm taking hits, gotta be in the side or the rear. So I start moving forward, but there goes my loader. Firing on the move, hit the Panther. I get set on fire, and I realize that an allied KV-1 set me on fire. So I use my fire extinguisher, then quickly type to the KV-1, stop. You know, I'm a teammate. And I can understand why someone would shoot just a tank, because I'm facing the wrong way. And I think that's what kind of set him off into shooting me, was that, and he apologized. Obviously he didn't want to shoot me. But what kind of, I guess, set him off is the fact that I'm facing the wrong way. Granted, I'm a tank that will never be on the Germans' team, but you know, I believe that Panther might still be over there. When I was playing, I didn't know what happened to him. I saw a burning wreck, but I thought on the replay there I just saw him. Saw a turret. I don't know. There's another one. You know, it's just Panthers all over the place. This field becomes a very interesting battleground. And I just took a hit from something. Okay, now this makes sense, because I didn't know how I got knocked out. Well, I knew where the round came from, but I didn't know like where he was. It must have been that Panther that I was shooting at before the KV-1 shot me, and he never died, but instead he just turned around, realized where I was, saw my muzzle flashes or whatever, and started shooting at me. That must have been what happened, because if you look back on the replay, I don't know what timestamp now, but not too long ago, I could actually see his turret above the hill, but I didn't register it when I was playing the game. So I think he's off more to the right of my gun. I think that's where he is. We're going to find out. But anyway, this game mode, I think, is really going to put players in the uncomfortable situation of being forced to, let's see exactly where that round came from before I continue my thought. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was the Panther, or was it the other one? I don't know. It's a Panther. Now I am going to respawn, and lo and behold, there's another Panther directly in my face. So we're going to start shooting at him. And on another side note, because we're just building tangents here, they buffed the rate of fire on this Sherman. I haven't played it very recently, so they might have done it maybe a few weeks ago. But before, I remember when it was on the closed test server, it was like 13 seconds. But then I remember I played it, and I thought it was faster than that, which is nice, because this gun's thing is that it's not going to kill you via the one shot. It's going to kill you by hitting you multiple times and knocking your crew out. But that Panther's been disabled. I've gotten his gun breach, I do believe. Yep. And I'm just going to keep firing at him, keep moving, get along his side, and try and knock him out that way. But I need to get closer so I can get around him so he doesn't just repair and pop me. But this game mode's really going to force players into the uncomfortable situation of really having to rely on their own game sense, if you will. Your own, what would it be called? Your just instincts in the game. And now I'm taking hits from another Panther. So I can't see him behind that bush, but I fire a shell, hits his upper glacis. So I know he's here now. nail that guy's cannon breach. And basically the goal here, I'm backing up to use this guy as cover against his teammate. And then I want to kill this guy. Well, I need to disable that guy first. So I disable him in terms of his gun. I have to repair now, though. So it's basically all three of us are repairing. You know, my turret and my gun are jammed, and my gunner's knocked out, but I have 10 seconds, so I might be able to get the repair off. He's actually not repairing. But I'm pretty sure I hit his cannon barrel or breach, and it went red, and then I think he fired, so he must have blown it out. Oh, no, he fired there. But now I'm back up and at him, so I'm going to turn and put this Panther in between that Panther and myself. This is where the rate of fire of this gun really comes in handy. My gun's the same caliber as theirs, and this gun fires way faster than theirs. So he's going to try and face hug me. I think he might have been trying to flip me or maybe just be cover so his teammate could reload or do whatever, but right through the bottom of the turret ring gets him done. And now I'm going to sort of side scrape on his tank to shoot his teammate. There goes his cannon breach. That signals to me that it's probably safe to move forward and execute him. But I have so much... The thing about the Shermans is you have a lot of ammo generally, so it's a good idea just to keep shooting, keep hammering them, just to try and disable as much as possible before you go for that knockout shot. Locate the ammo rack, or just a crew member's body, and knock them right out. So that sequence, when I was playing that was pretty intense. I mean, just a Panther randomly appears that I didn't know was there. Another one appears behind him. The mini-map, I think, would have made that situation far less, more engaging for me. And the purpose of this game mode, I think this game mode is a little maybe hardcore for, you know, someone who's just trying to get into the game or just trying to get into simulator. So I don't want them to implement this as the everyday simulator game mode. I really like it, and I think it's a very good game mode with all this extra stuff stripped out and everyone gets 2 spawns. And it's nice. My concern is, and also how you can just spawn planes in and stuff like that. This event, actually, it's just really, really good in my opinion. It may not be the most balanced thing ever, but the event itself is a good idea, and I really like it. The application of this style of game, I feel like, is more prone towards the competitive play. What do I mean by competitive? Because every War Thunder game is competitive. Well, I mean, like, team versus team. Like, you know, like Clan Wars in World of Tanks. We don't really have that in War Thunder. I think this is the game mode that they should use for ground forces, well, for quote-unquote Clan Wars. It needs to be based, I think War Thunder is all about combined arms. It's about the Air Force and the ground forces. And I think you need to combine that to make when you start making your sort of e-sporty style game mode. Because if you can combine an event like this and you put it, you know, squad versus squad or whatever, I still don't know what the clan structure is called in this game. I think it's squadron. I just don't bother myself with it very much. And if you did that, and let's say you had your team on, I don't know, TeamSpeak, you know, both teams were on TeamSpeak, the mini-map is used as a reference tool at that point. It's not used to strictly identify targets for you. And it still requires you to be able to physically spot the tank to shoot it. So, and then also, when you're in that situation, I feel like putting it into the skill of the players' hands, like so for example, if the players can't shoot very well, they're not good shots, but they have tons of coordination and stuff, you know, then they're going to win, you know, every single arcade battle, for example, because, yeah, I mean, it takes care of the aiming for you and things like that. I think that if you have a simulator gameplay, basically every aspect of the game, spotting, shooting, sort of survival tactics, like, you know, staying in bushes and things like that, using concealment and terrain features, really comes together and makes a really, really compelling match. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe this is the structure they're looking at for more of the sort of quote-unquote clan wars type game modes. Now, I think that's a long way off. I don't know if they even plan on doing something like that. It'd be really interesting if they did. But if they didn't, I wouldn't be surprised, because the game is still, you know, very developmental. And I'm just cooking this Panther. This T-34-85, I don't think I think they would have driven right by each other if I hadn't started shooting this Panther. Which is another interesting thing that happens quite often. People just drive by each other because they don't see each other. And I think that's primarily because people aren't used to looking around, really. You're not used to, you know, scanning around yourself, even in simulator mode, because you have a mini-map that tells you when you've spotted an enemy tank. You just don't get that in this game mode. You have to physically look around and determine where the threats are. And also, coordination with your team actually becomes a little bit more meaningful. I found that, although, I don't know, there's something, I can't really put my finger on why this game mode appeals to me so much. I'm pretty sure it's because I've had a lot of fun doing it, and it just ticks that extra box of just putting everything out, just you putting your individual ability into the team, and then the team pitted against another team. I think what would make it better is if this was open for, like I said before, sort of a quote-unquote clan wars structure, where you have sort of pre-made, you know, let's say 15 on 15 teams, or however many people. Could be a 6 on 6, could be an 8 on 8, whatever. You have pre-made teams that go at it, and I think that could actually be really, really compelling in a game like War Thunder, as so long as the people who are playing don't just sit by their cap circle and camp the whole time long, or the whole day long, rather. Because I can understand why it might be conducive for some people to, you know, camp really hard in this game mode, because, I mean, I understand why. You know, it's, you don't have enough information to move forward. You know, I move forward rather recklessly sometimes, rather boldly, just because I get very bored sitting in one spot, and I just need to keep my tank moving, because I find that most of the time that's how I get the games I really enjoy playing, is when my tank just keeps moving, I keep going forward, or I keep flanking, or, you know, something happens. And that playing aggressively, I think, is how you do well in games like this. Playing passively is how I think that works every once in a while, but it doesn't work, you know, in the long haul. Now, there is a tank there, and I thought it was a panther or a tiger or something, but I'm not entirely sure now that I've played the game and I'm looking at the replay, because there is going to be a wrecked T-34 in that location. And look, I see that muzzle flash, and I just saw the T-34-85 that was with me just got knocked out, so I know that's a Panzer 470A or Panzer 470, and lo and behold, there he is. First shell set him on fire, got his engine, so he's immobilized. My next shell goes a little lower than I wanted. Only gets his, like, loader. Next shell, or his commander, rather, sorry, something. But the next shell is going to go right through his crew compartment. That's going to be a serious issue for him. And this is where the game sort of starts to break down. This is what I found is the struggle for trying to close out these games, because as you can tell, this was a long game. It was a very long game. The issue you have is that because there isn't a defined communication system here, for example, we're not all on TeamSpeak, I have no idea where my teammates are. no clue. They could be right next to me, and I just haven't looked at them yet, or they could be, sitting in, I don't know, the 2 file or something like that. The point is that I don't know where they are, so it makes my life more difficult when I'm trying to decide, okay, how should I proceed? Should I go to their cap? I really don't want to. The problems with going to their cap is I tell their entire team where I am, and I'm not in the most heavily armored machine, and I have to decide, do I face their spawn or do I face away from their spawn? It's a tough decision. There's also, according to my teammate, a panther running around here. I know I can see the 3M right there, but in addition to him, there's a panther that I have no idea where he is. But according to my teammate, he just drove by where I killed the Panzer 470. So I'm like, okay. So I come over here looking for him, because that 3M is just going to keep running. And at this point, I had kind of conceded the fact that we weren't going to win this game. The reason is that they're capping. I think if I sprinted all the way back to our base, I might be able to save the day, but the Sherman isn't that fast, and, it's just not a good situation. And, like, for example, this would have been a good time to know, okay, where's the rest of my team? Is my team going back? Is no one going back? Should I go back? Or, whatever, because that would seriously influence my choice. Because if my team is going back, I would head to the enemy's cap and try and contest there. And I thought I saw the Panther there, but that was the burned out T-34-85. But when I was turning, I did spot, I'm gonna look around a little bit more, but I will re-spot the Panzer 3M. But this is all, the stuff about this, everything I've said about this game mode is all my opinion. Feel free to voice your opinions in the comment section. I'd love to hear them, because I've sort of said what my impressions are. There he is. But I'm interested to see what other people think, because I believe the simulator battle community will be very in favor of this. A lot of people, I think, who play simulator battle a lot are in favor of removing the mini-map to some degree. But I know people, I feel like people who are maybe a little more casual with simulator battles, like just play it every once in a while for, that when a little mix-up, may not think it's a great idea because it makes it that much harder to get into. And I can understand that. I think the big hindering factor for the simulator air community is the fact that it's really, really hard. I probably should have repaired my gun, but I was just trying to polish off the 3M. So I got to sit here and repair for 30 seconds. But for example, like I've been trying to get better at flying simulator planes, and I am nowhere near the point where I would consider flying it in a useful scenario. It's very hard to do, which means that less people try to do it, or less people continue to try to do it. Whereas with simulator battles on tanks, I feel like it's very accessible, and that makes it much, much easier to encourage people to try it. With these, ground forces events in simulator battle, I feel like having, I feel like having a simulator battle event that, maybe offers some big bonus, like 20% more research or something like that, in like low tier tanks that people probably have. I feel like that's a pretty good idea, because it just pushes people to try it. And when they try it, some of them are going to love it, some are going to hate it, some are going to love it, some are going to hate it, some are going to be fairly neutral. However, you have more people involved with it than you did before, and that's critical. The enemy have since capped. We've lost, but I had a lot of fun playing this. And even though I know this was a very long replay, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as well. It's a very interesting game mode, and honestly I hope to see more of it. I just hope it doesn't overtake the current simulator battle model. Simply because the current model is way more, what would be the word, like new player friendly. This model is way more experienced player friendly, you know. Players who maybe aren't going to make the mistake of driving right in front of an enemy tank as often as someone else, because I think everyone's going to make those like kind of silly mistakes. But anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. So thanks for watching. I've been Corny Swiss, and I'll see you next time.